So he's one of the top business and personal success speakers in the world. He's taught, trained, and motivated groups in Canada, the U.S., Europe, throughout China. In fact, he was the only North American to ever speak to political leaders and educators in communist China. And he's a Calgarian and the author of 365 Daily Lessons from Amazing Success. So joining us is Douglas Vermeeren. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You and I were matching a little bit today, and this wasn't planned.
Perfect.
Synchronicity, right?
There you go.
Okay, so in this book, you've had interviews with at least 400 people who are, tops in their field or really successful, and you've noticed, what, 12 common traits among them?
Well, it's interesting because we did interview more than 400 of the world's top achievers and most successful people, everyone from athletes to celebrities to financial leaders to you name it. And they did have 12 top attributes that we really found, and they also followed a very similar pattern to achievement, every one of them.
So there is a formula to success. Before we talk about success, because what the definition of success is, the formula, and it's not really what people think it is. This is something that you've come across.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I started as a young achiever. That's what I wanted to do when I was a child. And really my journey started when I was a Boy Scout or a Cub Scout. At 8 years old, we had a visitor that came to our Cub group, and he had pictures of all over the world where he traveled. Pictures of Machu Picchu, the pyramids at Chichen Itza. He had the Amazon River and all these exciting pictures. And then he invited us each to take out a piece of paper, number it 1 to 100, and write down the amazing things we wanted to accomplish in our life. Well, I did that, and I got to 117 things on this list. But my challenge is when I got home and started looking at my list, I didn't know where to start. As an 8-year-old boy, I had, for example, walk on the Great Wall of China, but as an 8-year-old boy, how do you start? And throughout life, I kind of looked at this achievement process, and I still have my list of 170 things today, but I've always looked at the different books that have been out there, and they've had, the graphs and the fill in the blanks and all these set a date kind of instructions that we typically hear when people talk about goal setting, right? But the more that I did that, the more that I found that really that formula didn't really work. For example, when we talk about goal setting, someone may say, if you're on an airplane, the captain may say, we have a goal to get to Tokyo. Well, if you set a goal, everyone is going to be a little bit frightened, right? A goal to get to Tokyo. But instead, top achievers look at it this way. We have a destination to get to Tokyo, and we have a flight plan to get there. So it's really a matter of building upon different steps with a clear, focused destination in mind.
I think that's really the hard part for a lot of people, though, is getting that plan in place. Like, they've got the destination in mind. I'm thinking of a particular story. I know somebody who wants to move to Vancouver. In order to do that, they want to get a job. They want to, set everything up. And it's almost as if, okay, they're willing to take the steps, but it's what steps are the right steps? And sort of this is the thinking. It's like, well, is there really a right step?
Well, that's an interesting question because lately we all have heard of The Secret.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a really great follow-up film that's coming called The Opus that
I know,
addresses
I'm so excited.
this. Yeah.
Yes.
And in fact, many people sort of put it out there as an intention and feel like law of attraction. If I get in that zone, it'll come and it'll resonate. And it's true. That is a very important part of the process. But maybe let me use this analogy. When you have a camera, what you focus on is kind of like the law of attraction. It's the way that you receive information into your life and how you look at the world. But it's still up to you to take the picture, which is called the law of action. So what I found with top achievers is there's really a formula, what I call the 4 Ps. The first one is potential, amazing potential. A top achiever has to recognize that they have the potential to accomplish this. And so that's really the first step. If you want to be the person to go to Vancouver, you really need to believe in your heart that you can do that. Right. It is possible for you. The next step is what we call amazing possibilities. Now around us there are many possibilities, things that we could do, things that we could see, right? But all of us are different, so we don't always recognize the same possibilities. Well, what regulates that? It comes back down to what you believe and what you desire. And you've probably heard that analogy a lot of people use, if I have a Volvo, suddenly everyone around me is driving a Volvo.
It's your perception.
It's your perception. So if you believe that you can do this, and then you desire it, and you turn the volume on those two elements sky high, your passion towards those is sky high, you will start to see the possibilities. The next steps will appear, which then takes us to the very next P, which is amazing probability. I like to use the example, like if I was in a room, standing at the very far corner of the room, and there was a dartboard way out this way, and I had 3 darts, and I was going to throw them. If I was from the other side of the room, it would be very difficult to get a bullseye. But with every step that I take forward, it becomes easier to get that bullseye. That's probability. That's the difference between probability and possibility. So the next jump up. As we learn more about that goal we wish to attain, by seeing the possibilities and by applying what we learn through those possibilities, our probability increases. And that happens whether it's through relationships, through tools that we have, through experiences, through education. Whatever we do brings us closer to that probability. Sorry, go ahead.
No, interesting point there. And in terms of this probability and bringing us closer to it, the problem is sometimes people aren't seeing the results. They self-sabotage. They don't believe they can have it, so they end up giving up too soon.
They do.
That's a common one, right?
Yeah, and it's important to notice that in probability, failure is also an important part.